Picture this. You're 7 months pregnant, aboard a luxury cruise ship in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, when you wake up to find your husband has completely vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, just a cold note saying he had to fly back for business. But here's where it gets absolutely shocking. You discover the captain of your ship is your own father, the Navy Admiral you haven't spoken to in 3 years because of his demanding military career. The same man who always chose duty over family is now your only hope for survival. And that's just the beginning. Because what Tori Hamilton is about to discover will shatter everything she thought she knew about her marriage, her husband's business, and the criminal conspiracy that's been unfolding right under her nose. When the FBI gets involved and the media explodes with scandal, Tori realizes she wasn't abandoned for another woman. She was deliberately set up to take the fall for crimes she never knew were being committed. With federal agents closing in and her husband trying to destroy her reputation to save himself, she'll need every ounce of her Navy family's strength to fight back. This is the story of how a pregnant woman stranded at sea discovered that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find out who you really are. And sometimes the family you thought failed you becomes the force that saves you. Get ready for a journey that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last word. The ship's horn echoed across Barcelona harbor as Tori Hamilton stumbled through her luxury suite, one hand pressed against her 7-month pregnant belly. Her voice bounced off the empty walls. "Bradley? Bradley!" The Mediterranean sun streamed through the porthole, but her husband's side of the bed remained cold, made, untouched, like he had never been there at all. The cruise ship lurched gently as they pulled away from the dock. Barcelona's colorful buildings faded into the distance through their balcony windows. This was supposed to be their baby moon, their last romantic getaway before becoming parents. The champagne Bradley had ordered sat unopened on their balcony table, condensation pooling beneath the silver bucket. Tori checked her phone with trembling fingers. No signal this far from shore. The last text from Bradley, sent at 6 in the morning, glowed on her screen. "Gone for quick meeting. Back soon. Love you." She walked to the bathroom and splashed cool water on her swollen face. The mirror reflected a woman she barely recognized anymore. Dark circles shadowed her green eyes. Her auburn hair hung limp around pale cheeks. That pregnancy glow everyone talked about was nowhere to be found. Just exhaustion and worry lines that seemed to deepen daily. She placed both hands on her belly and did what pregnant women do when anxiety strikes. She counted kicks. 1, 2, 3. The baby moved restlessly, like he sensed something was wrong. "Daddy's just running late, little man," she whispered to her reflection. He wouldn't miss dinner. He promised. A soft knock interrupted her internal countdown. "Mrs. Hamilton, this is Maria from housekeeping. Your husband left instructions?" Tori opened the door to find a middle-aged woman with kind eyes holding a crisp white envelope. Her face carried the carefully neutral expression that service workers perfect when delivering bad news. "He said to give this to you after departure," Maria said quietly. The envelope trembled in Tori's hands. She tore it open to find a single sheet of hotel stationery. Bradley's handwriting, usually so confident, looked rushed and sloppy. "Tori, had to fly back early. Business emergency. Enjoy the cruise. We'll talk when you get home. B, no love, no sorry, no explanation for abandoning his pregnant wife on a ship in international waters." The reality hit her like a physical blow. This wasn't normal. Husbands don't just disappear. Not when their wives are 7 months pregnant. Not on their baby moon cruise. The ship's intercom crackled to life overhead. "Good afternoon, passengers. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard the Mediterranean Jewel. I'm Captain James Blackwood, and my crew and I are honored to serve you during our 7-day voyage." Tori's knees buckled. She grabbed the door frame while Maria rushed forward to steady her. Captain James Blackwood, her father, the same man she hadn't spoken to in 3 years, the Navy Admiral who had missed her high school graduation for a deployment, who walked her down the aisle in dress whites but left during the reception for urgent Navy business, who she had sworn would never prioritize duty over family with her own children. Now he was the only person who could help her. Maria guided her to the bed and brought her a glass of water. "Are you all right, Mrs. Hamilton?" Tori sipped the water and tried to steady her breathing. Yes, just surprised. Thank you for delivering the message. After Maria left, Tori sat alone on her balcony, staring at the endless blue Mediterranean. The wind whipped her hair as she tried to process Bradley's abandonment. She counted her breaths like her Navy mother had taught her during childhood panic attacks. 4 in, 4 out. 4 in, 4 out. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her father commanded this ship, the same man who had chosen duty over family her entire childhood, who she had distanced herself from after too many missed birthdays and broken promises, who she had vowed would be different with her own children. Now she needed him more than ever. She replayed the morning in her mind, searching for clues she had missed. Bradley had seemed distant at breakfast. He checked his phone constantly between bites of French toast, said he had important calls to make before they left port. She had assumed it was work stress. CEOs always had fires to put out. She made excuses the way she always did. You know how he gets during acquisitions. But deep down, something had felt wrong for weeks, months maybe. Bradley working later and later, weekend calls that couldn't wait. That new assistant, Elena, who made Tori uncomfortable in ways she couldn't quite name. The sound of footsteps on the adjacent balcony broke her thoughts. Grace Murphy appeared at the divider between their suites, her college roommate's familiar face creased with concern. Honey, I've been looking everywhere for you, Grace said. Where's Bradley? We were supposed to meet at the pool an hour ago. Grace had been her maid of honor, the one person on this ship who knew the real story of her marriage, the friend who had caught the bouquet at her wedding but still hadn't found her own Prince Charming. He left, Tori said, the words tasting bitter in her mouth. Business emergency. Grace's expression cycled through disbelief, anger, and protective fury in the span of seconds. He left you, 7 months pregnant, on a cruise ship in the middle of the Mediterranean? His assistant Elena is missing too. The pieces clicked together in Grace's eyes. That tall brunette who was all over him at the company Christmas party? The one you said made you uncomfortable? Tori nodded, feeling foolish for trusting her instincts so little. I should have known. You couldn't have known, Grace said firmly. You trusted your husband. That's what wives do. Grace pulled out her phone and started dialing. I'm calling my lawyer brother. This is abandonment, financial abuse. We can... No signal, Tori reminded her. They sat in silence, watching the ship's wake trail behind them in the darkening water. Other passengers laughed on nearby balconies. Couples toasted their vacations with champagne. Tori felt like she was watching life through glass, separated from normal happiness by an invisible barrier of betrayal. A uniformed officer approached their balcony area. Commander Torres, according to his name tag. He was middle-aged with kind eyes and the bearing of someone accustomed to delivering difficult news. Mrs. Hamilton, Captain Blackwood requests your presence on the bridge, he said formally. Grace squeezed Tori's hand. Want me to come with you? I need to face him alone, Tori replied. The elevator ride to the bridge felt eternal. What do you say to the father you've barely spoken to in 3 years? The man whose career always came first, whose duty to country superseded duty to family? The bridge doors opened to reveal a world of sophisticated navigation equipment and officers moving with practiced precision. And there, standing with his back to her, was Admiral James Blackwood in full-dress uniform. His silver hair was perfectly styled, his posture rigid with military bearing. But when he turned around, his ocean blue eyes betrayed genuine concern. Victoria, he said, his voice carrying the authority of 30 years commanding men at sea. Commander Torres briefed me on the situation. She wanted to cry, wanted to collapse into his arms like when she was 8 years old and had scraped her knee riding her bike. Instead, she straightened her spine and channeled the Blackwood steel she had inherited whether she wanted it or not. Hello, Dad. The bridge crew pretended to busy themselves with instruments and charts, giving them privacy without actually leaving their posts. Through the massive windows, the Mediterranean stretched endlessly in all directions. No land in sight, no escape route. Admiral Blackwood studied a tablet that Commander Torres handed him. His jaw tightened as he read the information displayed on the screen. Your husband abandoned ship at Barcelona, he said in the clinical tone that had defined her childhood. Harbor Master confirms he and a female companion took the 10:15 flight to New York. The professional delivery hurt more than anger would have. Facts, maritime law, chain of custody. Her father reduced her marital crisis to operational logistics, just like he had reduced her childhood to duty schedules and deployment timelines. Elena Vasquez, Tori provided, his assistant. Jim's expression hardened further. In command situations, he processed intelligence quickly, identified threats, and neutralized problems. How long has this affair been going on? I don't know. Months, maybe years. The admission felt like confessing failure. I ignored the warning signs. She found herself standing at attention despite her emotional turmoil. Military children learn to code switch automatically. At this moment, she wasn't the abandoned pregnant wife. She was the Admiral's daughter, trained from birth to maintain composure under pressure. You ignored nothing, Jim said, his voice softening slightly. You trusted your spouse. That's not weakness, Victoria. That's what marriage requires. For a brief moment, she glimpsed not Admiral Blackwood, but the father who had taught her to sail during his rare shore leaves. The man who read her bedtime stories via video calls from deployed ships. The father who had cried at her wedding, though he tried to hide his tears behind military stoicism. Commander Torres approached with another tablet. Sir, we've confirmed the Hamilton suite was paid through the full cruise duration. Legally, Mrs. Hamilton has every right to remain aboard for the complete voyage. She's not just remaining, Jim declared with a finality. She's family. My daughter, my grandchild. He turned to face Tori directly. Your mother is in our quarters. She's been worried sick since Torres briefed me on the situation. The words hit her like an unexpected wave. Mom's here? She never misses my deployments, even the ones that masquerade as luxury cruises. The irony struck her forcefully. Her workaholic father, who had missed so many family moments for the sake of duty, now had her mother by his side at sea. Somehow they had figured out how to balance love and career after 30 years of marriage. Why couldn't she and Bradley have done the same? Jim walked her through the ship's corridors, pointing out safety features and crew protocols along the way. His naval precision masked deep paternal concern. Every few steps, he glanced at her pregnant belly, calculating due dates and potential medical contingencies. She realized he was doing what Navy fathers do naturally, securing the perimeter, ensuring his family's safety. The ship's doctor is Sarah Mitchell, he explained as they walked. She delivered half the babies born on Norfolk Naval Base over the past 15 years. She'll monitor you and the little Admiral throughout the voyage. It's a boy? Tori asked, surprised. Naval intuition, Jim replied with the first smile she'd seen from him. Plus, your mother bought blue booties when we docked in Barcelona this morning. Despite everything, Tori found herself smiling back. You two went shopping? Reconnaissance mission, your mother's direct orders. They stopped outside the captain's quarters. Through the door, she could hear her mother humming softly. The same lullaby Maggie had sung during Tori's childhood nightmares. The melody that had chased away monsters and made everything safe again. She's going to want to examine your ankles for swelling, Jim warned. Navy nurse habits die hard. Tori took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Whatever came next, at least she wasn't facing it alone anymore. The captain's quarters revealed a side of her father she had almost forgotten. Family photographs lined his desk. Her high school graduation, where he'd surprised her by showing up in dress blues. Her wedding day with Bradley shaking Jim's hand in what she now recognized as calculated charm rather than genuine respect. Recent photos of her and Bradley that looked staged and artificial in hindsight. Her mother, Margaret, sat in the window seat with afternoon sunlight catching the silver threads in her hair. She was knitting tiny blue socks, her fingers moving with the practiced efficiency of someone who had spent decades keeping busy during long deployments. Oh, sweetheart, Maggie said, rising with the fluid grace that all Navy wives eventually master. Her embrace smelled like lavender and strength, the combination that had gotten Tori through every childhood crisis. Mom, I'm so sorry, Tori began, feeling tears threaten. The things I said when you chose Dad's career over being there for me. Stop right there, Maggie interrupted with the firm voice that had once commanded an entire naval hospital ward. You were 25 years old, watching your father miss another holiday. You spoke from hurt, not hate. I understood that then, and I understand it now. They settled together on the small sofa, 3 generations of Blackwood women in one cramped space. Jim studied maritime charts at his desk, while Maggie automatically checked Tori's ankles for signs of swelling. Even in the middle of a crisis, they operated like the military family they had always been. Assess the situation, adapt to circumstances, overcome obstacles. Tori found herself analyzing the timeline of her marriage, connecting dots she had deliberately ignored for months. The company retreat in Miami last spring, Bradley came back different afterward, more secretive. He started working late almost every night, taking weekend calls that supposedly couldn't wait. When did he hire Elena? Maggie asked gently. About 6 months ago. Said she came highly recommended from his business associates. Tori laughed, but the sound held no humor. I bet she did. Jim's secure phone buzzed on his desk. The device was reserved exclusively for Navy business, and his expression grew grim as he read the message displayed on the screen. What is it, James? Maggie asked, recognizing the look that had preceded countless emergency deployments over the years. Bradley Hamilton's company is under federal investigation, Jim reported. Securities and Exchange Commission, insider trading, securities fraud, and money laundering. The business emergency was FBI agents serving search warrants at his corporate headquarters. The room seemed to tilt around Tori. She gripped the arm of the sofa, feeling her blood pressure spike dangerously. He's been using company money for personal expenses. The cruise, Elena's salary increase, that new BMW he bought last month, all completely traceable, Jim confirmed grimly. He needed to disappear quickly. Left you holding potential legal liability. The ugly truth settled over her like a suffocating blanket. Bradley hadn't just abandoned his pregnant wife. He had deliberately set her up to take the fall for his crimes, and a soft knock interrupted her realization. Dr. Sarah Mitchell stood in the doorway with her medical bag, her weathered face kind but professional. Captain Blackwood, I heard we have a patient who needs monitoring? The medical examination was thorough but gentle. Blood pressure elevated but still within manageable parameters. Baby's heartbeat strong and completely regular. Stress hormones concerning but not yet dangerous. The little guy's definitely a fighter, Dr. Mitchell confirmed with a reassuring smile. Takes after his grandfather, I'd say. What about Bradley? Tori asked quietly. I mean, legally, our joint bank accounts, the house, all our shared assets. Jim and Maggie exchanged the kind of look that only comes from 30 years of marriage. Naval spouses learn hard lessons about protecting assets during long deployments and uncertain times. We're calling Henry Walsh, Maggie decided. He'll know exactly what to do. Captain Henry Walsh had been Jim's roommate at the Naval Academy. Now he worked as Port Authority Director in Miami, specializing in legal issues affecting military families. The man who had helped Tori's parents navigate Navy bureaucracy for 3 decades. Later that evening, Tori stood alone on the deck, watching dolphins race alongside the ship's bow. Their playful leaps seemed impossible from her current perspective, but she found herself smiling despite everything. The baby kicked in response to her rare moment of peace, as if approving of her attempt at optimism. The ship's elegant dining room beckoned below. Other passengers were dressing for dinner, couples linking arms, families gathering to create vacation memories. She felt like an outsider watching normal life through thick glass. Grace appeared beside her with a navy blue maternity dress draped over her arm. You're not eating alone tonight. Captain's table, remember? I can't face people asking questions about Bradley, Tori protested. Then don't answer as Bradley Hamilton's abandoned wife, Grace replied firmly. Tonight, you're Admiral Blackwood's daughter. There's a difference. The identity shift hit her like a revelation. For 3 years, she had been Mrs. Hamilton, defined entirely by her husband's success and status. Tonight, she could reclaim the name she had been born with. Tonight, she could remember who she was before Bradley Hamilton had tried to erase her. The captain's table occupied the dining room's most prestigious position, commanding panoramic views of the Mediterranean sunset. Tori arrived wearing her navy blue maternity dress, like armor, disguised as evening wear. Her father stood when she approached, offering his arm with the ceremonial precision that had marked every formal occasion of her childhood. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced to the assembled guests, my daughter Victoria Blackwood. Not Victoria Hamilton. The deliberate use of her maiden name felt like shedding old skin and stepping into something stronger. The other guests welcomed her warmly. A retired ambassador and his wife, a shipping magnate's elderly widow, a marine biologist couple celebrating their anniversary. Navy wives learn social graces as survival skills, and Tori found herself channeling her mother's diplomatic training, deflecting questions about her absent husband with practiced ease. Business called him away unexpectedly, she explained with a smile that felt almost natural. But I couldn't miss this opportunity to sail with my father. Half true, which made it easier to deliver convincingly. The best lies always contained a kernel of authentic truth. During the fish course, her phone vibrated with the text from an unknown number. The message made her fork clatter against her china plate. Tori, it's Elena. We need to talk. This isn't what you think. Jim noticed the disturbance immediately. 30 years of command experience makes you hyper-aware of any disruption in formation, no matter how subtle. Excuse me for just a moment, Tori murmured to the table, stepping onto the deck. She dialed the number with trembling fingers. Elena answered on the first ring. Don't hang up, Elena said urgently. I know exactly how this looks. But Bradley is in serious trouble. The FBI raided his office this morning. He begged me to help him disappear. Help him disappear, Tori repeated. Or run away together? God, no, he's my boss, not my boyfriend. I've been documenting his illegal activities for months. I'm cooperating with federal investigators. The conversation tilted Tori's understanding of the entire situation. You're not having an affair with my husband. With Bradley Hamilton, he's paranoid, controlling, and treats women like disposable property. I wouldn't touch him wearing hazmat gloves. If Elena wasn't Bradley's mistress, then why had he abandoned his pregnant wife on a cruise ship? The question hung in the Mediterranean air like fog. Because you're his wife, Elena continued, apparently reading her thoughts. You're legally liable for his debts and actions. He thinks if you're out of the country when they freeze his assets, you can't testify against him in court. The pieces of Bradley's plan rearranged themselves into a more sinister pattern. He hadn't left her for another woman. He had discarded her as a strategic sacrifice, isolating her while pregnant so she couldn't interfere with his escape plan. Elena's voice grew more urgent. He's planning to claim you knew about the fraud, paint you as the mastermind while positioning himself as the naive husband who was manipulated. Your signature is on several key documents. I signed tax forms, Tori protested, joint tax returns that married couples file together. That's all he needs for his defense strategy. Listen carefully. I'm meeting with FBI agents in Miami tomorrow morning. I have recordings, emails, documentary proof that you're completely innocent. But you need protection. Bradley's desperate, and desperate men do terrible things to the people who can hurt them. After the call ended, Tori remained on the deck, processing this new reality. Not abandoned for love, but discarded for legal convenience. The Mediterranean stars reflected off the dark water like scattered diamonds, beautiful but unreachable. She felt the baby move restlessly, as if sensing her emotional turmoil. Jim found her there 20 minutes later. Elena Vasquez called, she explained without preamble. She's not his mistress. She's a federal witness cooperating with the FBI investigation. Jim's expression shifted from protective father to strategic commander in analyzing new intelligence. That explains the timeline. He needed you isolated and uninformed while he executed his escape plan. He set me up, Dad. Made me the designated fall guy while he runs from justice. Not while I'm in command of this vessel, Jim replied, his voice carrying the absolute authority of someone accustomed to winning battles. We're not just protecting you anymore, Victoria. We're going to destroy him. The shift from defensive to offensive strategy felt like coming alive again after months of suffocating confusion. Blackwood blood doesn't retreat when attacked. It regroups, adapts, and launches devastating counterattacks. Jim pulled out his secure phone. Time to call in some favors. Your husband wants to play games with a Navy family? He's about to learn why that's a fatal strategic mistake. The bridge became an operational command center within the hour. Secure communications equipment, legal documents spread across chart tables. Captain Walsh appeared on the main video screen, his weathered face serious in the Miami dawn light. Victoria, Walsh began without pleasantries. I'm sorry about these circumstances, but your husband has made some critical tactical errors. Elena Vasquez contacted the FBI yesterday with comprehensive evidence, bank records, recorded conversations, email communications. Bradley Hamilton is going down for securities fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. What does that mean for me legally? Tori asked. You're completely clear. Elena documented your innocent involvement in everything. But here's our immediate problem. Bradley knows she talked to federal agents. He's hired Marcus Weber, a criminal defense attorney who specializes in spousal blame strategies. Jim leaned forward. Clarify the threat assessment. Weber plans to claim Victoria was the criminal mastermind behind the operation, that Bradley was manipulated by his ambitious wife who wanted an expensive lifestyle. Her pregnancy was supposedly strategic timing designed to gain jury sympathy. The audacity of the accusation stole Tori's breath. He's going to blame me for his crimes? It's a desperate legal strategy, but with the right narrative presentation, juries sometimes buy the innocent husband corrupted by greedy wife defense, Walsh confirmed. Elena's voice joined the video conference. That's exactly why I'm going public tomorrow. Full press conference with every recording, every document, every piece of evidence. By the time I finish, Bradley Hamilton will be completely radioactive in the media. Jim studied the tactical situation with the same intensity he had once brought to naval operations. What's our timeline? FBI arrests Bradley tomorrow morning, Walsh reported. Media circus by tomorrow afternoon. Victoria needs to be somewhere completely safe when this story explodes across national news. She's under full Navy protection, Jim declared with finality. Let him try to attack my daughter through the press. He'll discover what happens when you threaten a military family. The family war room energy felt familiar and comforting. Crisis management through military precision, emotional support wrapped in comprehensive operational planning. For the first time in months, Tori felt truly protected by people who understood the stakes. Elena's final revelation changed everything about Bradley's motivations. There's something else you need to know. Bradley's been systematically diverting company funds to offshore accounts, money that was supposed to fund employee pensions and retirement benefits. He didn't just steal from wealthy investors. He stole directly from working families who trusted him with their futures. The full scope of Bradley's crimes settled over the room like a dark cloud. This wasn't just about a failed marriage or even personal betrayal. Bradley had destroyed the financial security of hundreds of families to fund his escape plan. Tori placed her hands protectively over her pregnant belly. Her son would grow up knowing his father was not just a criminal, but a man who had stolen from working people to save himself. But he would also grow up knowing his mother had fought back with the full force of a Navy family behind her. Dawn broke over the Mediterranean as Tori stood at the ship's bow, feeling salt spray mist her face. Instead of the crushing despair she'd expected, she experienced something completely unexpected. Relief. The marriage she had been grieving never actually existed. She wasn't losing a husband. She was finally escaping a very sophisticated prison. The baby kicked vigorously against her ribs, as if responding to her newfound mental clarity. You and me, little Admiral, she whispered to the wind, we're going to be just fine. Grace joined her at the railing, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing the concerned expression that had carried them through college crises together. You look different this morning, Grace observed, studying Tori's face in the golden sunrise light. I feel different, Tori replied honestly, like I've been holding my breath for 3 years and can finally exhale properly. So what's the plan moving forward? The question that would have terrified her yesterday morning felt like an adventure today. Start completely over. New city, new job, new life. Somewhere Bradley's reputation and criminal record can't follow us. Her phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. Elena's press conference was already making waves across social media and financial news networks. Tech CEO's assistant exposes massive fraud scheme. Elena Vasquez. I recorded everything he did. Hamilton tech stock crashes amid FBI investigation. She scrolled through the comments sections, watching public opinion crystallize in real time. Bradley's professional network distanced themselves with carefully worded statements. Investors demanded immediate answers and accountability. Most importantly, his own employees expressed outrage about their stolen pension funds. Jim approached with a folder of official documents. Walsh filed emergency protective papers overnight. Your personal assets are completely protected, pending the federal investigation. The house, your individual bank accounts, even your car are legally separate from Bradley's business debts and potential criminal liability. I can actually go home, Tori asked, surprised. You can go anywhere you want in the world, Jim replied with a slight smile. You're free, Victoria. The word tasted foreign on her tongue. Free. When was the last time she had made a major decision without first considering Bradley's reaction? Where to live, what job to accept, which friends to spend time with. Every choice had been filtered through his approval for so long, she'd forgotten what autonomy felt like. Dr. Mitchell arrived for her morning medical checkup. Blood pressure normal, baby's position optimal for the stage of pregnancy, stress hormones returning to healthy baseline levels. You're absolutely remarkable, Dr. Mitchell observed while reviewing her chart. Most women in your situation would be experiencing medical crisis. Instead, you're thriving. Blackwood genetics, Tori explained with genuine pride, were built for weathering storms. In the ship's elegant library, surrounded by maritime histories and navigation guides, she researched potential new cities with the systematic approach her father had taught her during childhood. San Diego appealed to her on multiple levels. Navy town with familiar culture and values. Excellent schools for raising children. Thriving startup community where she could rebuild her marketing career. Far enough from New York to completely avoid Bradley's social and professional shadow, but close enough to ocean views that would always feel like home. Her laptop chimed with an email from Jessica Chen, her former colleague who had left Bradley's company 18 months ago to become chief marketing officer at a San Diego biotech firm. Tori, saw the news about Bradley. He's a complete ass and always was. Job opening here if you're interested. We need someone with exactly your skills and experience, and San Diego needs another badass working mom. Call me when you get signal. The universe seemed to be opening doors faster than she could walk through them. She wasn't the problem in her marriage, Tori realized with startling clarity. She had been the solution to problems Bradley didn't deserve to have solved. Admiral Blackwood found her there several hours later, surrounded by city guides, job listings, and apartment rental websites. Planning your next campaign, he asked, settling into the chair across from her. Something like that. How do you choose where to start over completely? Same way you choose any strategic position, Jim replied thoughtfully. High ground, secure supply lines, friendly territory. He pointed to the San Diego materials spread across her table. Naval base for community support, established infrastructure, professional opportunities, textbook strategic positioning. You approve of my choice. I approve of you taking command of your own life after years of someone else making your decisions. The afternoon brought a video call from Elena, now safely in FBI protective custody. Her face showed exhaustion but steely determination. The press conference went completely viral, Elena reported. Bradley's trying to claim temporary mental breakdown, but with all the recordings I provided, nobody's buying his innocent act. His legal team is already reaching out about plea deal negotiations. Will he actually go to prison? Tori asked. White-collar criminals usually get minimum security facilities, but with the pension fund theft, probably 5 to 7 years minimum. More importantly, he's financially destroyed. Assets frozen, business completely shut down, professional reputation demolished. The complete victory should have brought satisfaction, but Tori found she felt only sadness for the man she had thought she married. The Bradley who had proposed on Malibu Beach, who had cried during her first miscarriage, who had promised to build a loving family together. That person had either never been real or had died somewhere along the path to fraud and betrayal. Elena's expression grew serious. There's something else you need to know. He's been asking his lawyer about you, where you are, how to contact you. His attorney thinks if Bradley can get you to forgive him publicly, show family unity, it might help reduce his sentence. Jim, who had been listening from across the library, stepped closer to the laptop screen. Any contact with my daughter constitutes harassment of a military dependent. Make sure his legal team understands that. Elena nodded. Already handled. But Tori, there's one more thing. Bradley wants to sign away all parental rights. Complete custody to you, no claims on the child whatsoever. He says he never wanted to be a father anyway. The casual cruelty of the statement hit harder than any of his previous betrayals. Their son, not even born yet, dismissed as inconvenient to Bradley's legal strategy. That's probably the first honest thing he said in years, Tori replied quietly. But also, she realized, the greatest gift he could possibly give their child. A complete absence that would be far healthier than a lifetime of disappointment and manipulation. The ship docked in Monaco for their scheduled port day. Tori stood on deck watching wealthy tourists board for shopping excursions and casino visits while her phone rang with Bradley's number. Her father noticed her hesitation immediately. "Answer it," Jim advised grimly, "but stay in public where crew can witness and keep the conversation short." Bradley's voice sounded hollow and desperate when she accepted the call. "Tori, thank God, I've been trying to reach you for hours." "I know exactly what you did, Bradley," she replied calmly. "Elena told me everything about the FBI investigation. She's lying about all of it. The situation isn't what it appears to be." "Stop talking," Tori interrupted with authority she didn't know she possessed. "I've heard the recordings myself, the bank records. I know about the stolen pension money." Silence stretched across the international phone connection. When Bradley spoke again, all pretense of charm had vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "You signed those tax returns, Tori. Your name is on half the financial documents. We're legally in this together whether you like it or not." "Actually, we're not," she replied steadily. "Elena documented everything. I was manipulated and deceived, not complicit in your crimes. You think your Navy daddy can protect you from federal prosecutors?" Bradley's voice turned threatening. "I'll drag your entire family through years of court proceedings, military pension, his reputation, your mother's nursing license. I'll destroy all of you." Jim gently took the phone from her hands. His voice carried 30 years of command authority when he spoke. "This is Admiral James Blackwood. You've made a serious tactical error threatening my family." "Admiral," Bradley's tone shifted immediately, recognizing the power dynamics at play. "This is a private matter between my wife and myself." "Not anymore," Jim replied with Arctic calm. "Victoria is under official Navy protection. Any further contact constitutes harassment of a military dependent. I strongly suggest you focus on your upcoming legal problems." Jim ended the call, but not before ensuring Bradley heard the unmistakable steel beneath his diplomatic language. Within the hour, Elena called with urgent updates. "Bradley's attorney contacted mine within minutes of your father's warning. They want an immediate meeting. Bradley's willing to admit complete responsibility for everything if you'll provide character testimony at his sentencing hearing." "Character testimony?" Tori repeated incredulously. "For the man who abandoned his pregnant wife to frame her for his financial crimes? He's offering full financial settlement in exchange. House, cars, investment accounts, everything transferred to your name, completely clean and clear of criminal liability. The offer would solve every practical problem she faced: financial security for herself and the baby, a house to raise her son, resources to start over without struggling. But it would require standing beside the man who had betrayed her in the most fundamental way possible, helping him minimize consequences for stealing from working families. Some prices are too high to pay, even for security and comfort." "Tell his lawyer absolutely not," Tori decided. "I won't help him escape justice for what he did to those families." On Monaco's pristine dock, she walked among luxury yachts with grace, breathing fresh Mediterranean air and endless possibility. The baby moved constantly now, as if eager to be born into their new freedom, rather than the suffocating lies of her marriage. Children played in waterfront parks while their parents watched protectively, the kind of life she was choosing for her son. A text from Jessica in San Diego included photographs of house rentals in family-friendly neighborhoods, elementary schools with outstanding ratings, medical groups accepting new patients, the practical architecture of new beginnings taking shape across 3,000 miles. Jim found them at a harbor cafe overlooking rows of gleaming white boats. Walsh called with updates. "Bradley was arrested 2 hours ago, charged with securities fraud, money laundering, and fiduciary breach of trust. Bail set at $2 million. "Will he make bail?" Tori asked. "All his assets are frozen pending investigation. He's staying in federal custody until trial." The news should have brought satisfaction, but Tori felt only weary sadness for the destruction Bradley had brought on himself and everyone around him. Justice being served, but at such tremendous cost to so many people. Jim's secure phone buzzed with an urgent message. His expression darkened as he read the text. Bradley's mother just hired Marcus Weber, he announced grimly. The name meant nothing to Tori, but Maggie's face went pale with recognition. Weber specializes in destroying military families in court, Maggie explained. He'll attack your fitness as a mother, claim the Navy lifestyle makes us inherently unstable parents. Instead of fear, Tori felt crystalline clarity settling over her thoughts. They wanted to attack her family, question her fitness as a mother, use her Navy heritage against her. They had chosen the wrong opponent entirely. Let them come, she declared, standing straighter despite her advanced pregnancy. I'm a Blackwood. We don't retreat from fights. The family war room reconvened in Jim's quarters that evening. Strategic planning through secure communications. Legal briefs from Walsh. Character references from colleagues spanning decades. Military precision applied to civilian legal warfare. Elena joined by a video conference. Weber's strategy is completely predictable. He'll claim you're emotionally unstable, that growing up in a military family damaged your ability to maintain healthy relationships. He'll argue the pregnancy was strategically planned to gain jury sympathy. What's our counter strategy, Jim asked. We control the entire narrative, Elena replied. Full media offensive. Show Victoria as the victim who became a survivor, the military daughter who learned strength and resilience from the finest traditions of service. Maggie contributed crucial intelligence. I have 30 years of Navy wife connections, medical professionals, judges' wives, business leaders, character witnesses who understand that military families produce exceptionally strong, stable children. The campaign built unstoppable momentum throughout the afternoon. Social media posts supporting Tori from military families nationwide. News interviews with Elena emphasizing Bradley's systematic manipulation. Statements from Tori's former colleagues describing her professional competence and unshakable personal integrity. Dr. Mitchell provided medical testimony that destroyed Weber's strategy before he could implement it. Victoria demonstrates remarkable resilience under extreme stress. Her pregnancy remains completely healthy despite circumstances that would hospitalize most women. This is the psychological profile of an exceptionally strong mother. The counterattack reached peak effectiveness when Admiral Richardson, Jim's former commanding officer and current Pentagon military advisor, released an official statement. I have known the Blackwood family for 20 years. Victoria represents the finest traditions of military service, honor, courage, and commitment. Any attack on her character is an attack on the values that defend our nation. By evening, social media sentiment had shifted decisively in Tori's favor. The hashtag NavyStrong was trending nationally, with military families sharing stories of resilience and strength. Bradley's narrative about had collapsed under the organized opposition of an entire community. Walsh called with the final update. Weber's withdrawing from the case effective immediately. Public opinion made his strategy completely untenable. Bradley's looking at plea negotiations within 48 hours. What kind of plea deal? Tori asked. Full financial restitution to victims, 7 years minimum sentence, permanent no-contact order regarding you and the baby. He keeps whatever assets survive federal seizure, but he's finished professionally forever. The offer represented total victory. Bradley neutralizes a threat, financial security restored, reputation completely protected. But Tori realized something important about herself. She didn't need the complete destruction of her enemy to achieve peace and freedom. She needed only his absence from her life and her son's future. Deep in the night, alone in her cabin while the ship cut through Mediterranean darkness, Tori finally allowed herself to break completely. The adrenaline that had sustained her through days of crisis faded, leaving raw emotion in its wake. She slid down the bathroom door, 7 months pregnant and utterly alone, sobbing for the marriage that had never been real, the man who had never truly loved her, the baby who would grow up without a father. The breakdown was ugly and necessary. Grief for the life she had thought they were building together. A terror about facing single motherhood without support. Shame for being deceived so completely by someone she had trusted with everything. Her body shook with the force of emotions she had suppressed for months while making excuses for Bradley's behavior. When the storm of tears finally subsided, she did what devastated women do at rock bottom. She called her mother, not for solutions or advice, just for the voice that had made childhood terrors disappear with lullabies and gentle words. "Mom," she whispered into the phone, "I can't do this. I can't be a single mother. I don't know how to raise a child alone." Maggie arrived within minutes, settling beside Tori on the cold bathroom floor without judgment or questions. Navy wives understand crisis protocol instinctively. Presence first, solutions second. "When your father deployed the month before you were born," Maggie confessed quietly, "I had exactly the same panic. 36 hours of labor with no husband, no family nearby, just Navy wives taking shifts in the hospital waiting room." "But Dad came back from that deployment," Tori protested. "Bradley never will." "No, sweetheart," Maggie replied with gentle wisdom. "Bradley was never really there to begin with. You've been doing this alone already. You just didn't recognize it yet." The truth settled like sediment in still water. How many dinners had she eaten alone while Bradley worked late at the office? How many doctor appointments had she attended by herself because he was too busy with meetings? How many nights had she lain awake feeling like a stranger in her own marriage bed? "The baby deserves better than what I had with Bradley," Tori realized aloud. "The baby deserves exactly what you're going to give him," Maggie said firmly. "A mother who chooses him first, every single day, without exception." They sat together in comfortable silence, mother and daughter on a bathroom floor in international waters, finding strength in the Blackwood women's tradition of endurance through impossible circumstances. Outside their small sanctuary, the ship continued cutting through Mediterranean darkness, carrying them steadily toward tomorrow's possibilities. A gentle knock interrupted their moment. Commander Torres spoke through the door with respectful urgency. "Ladies, Captain Blackwood requests your immediate presence in his quarters. Priority briefing with time-sensitive intelligence." Jim's quarters buzzed with coordinated activity, navigation charts, legal documents, secure communication equipment, it arranged with military precision. Captain Walsh appeared on the main video screen, his weathered face serious in Miami's early dawn light. "Victoria," Walsh began without preliminaries, "I'm sorry about these circumstances, but your husband has made several critical mistakes that work in your favor." Elena Vasquez contacted the FBI yesterday with comprehensive evidence: bank records, recorded conversations, email threads. "Bradley Hamilton is going down for securities fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion." "What does that mean for me legally?" Tori asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "You're completely clear of criminal liability. Elena meticulously documented your innocent involvement in everything. But here's our immediate tactical problem. Bradley knows Elena testified against him. He's hired Weber to implement a spousal blame defense strategy." Jim leaned toward the screen. "Clarify the specific threat assessment." "Weber plans to claim Victoria was the criminal mastermind behind the entire operation. That Bradley was manipulated by his ambitious wife, who wanted an expensive lifestyle regardless of the cost. Her pregnancy was supposedly strategic timing designed to gain jury sympathy during trial." The sheer audacity of the accusation left Tori breathless. "He's planning to blame me for the crimes he committed?" "It's a desperate legal maneuver, but with the right narrative presentation, juries sometimes accept the innocent husband corrupted by greedy wife defense," Walsh confirmed, "especially when the defendant can afford attorneys like Weber." Elena's voice joined the secure video conference from her FBI safehouse. "That's exactly why I'm going public tomorrow morning. Complete press conference with every recording, every document, every piece of evidence I collected. By the time I finish, Bradley Hamilton will be radioactive in the media." Jim studied the tactical situation with the same intensity he had once brought to naval battle planning. "What's our operational timeline?" "FBI arrests Bradley at 8 tomorrow morning," Walsh reported. "Media circus begins by noon. Victoria needs to be somewhere completely secure when this story explodes across national news networks." "She's under comprehensive Navy protection," Jim declared with absolute finality. "Let Bradley try to attack my daughter through the press. He'll discover what happens when you declare war on a military family." The Family Command Center energy felt familiar and deeply comforting. Crisis management through military precision, emotional support wrapped in systematic operational planning. For the first time in months of confusion and fear, Tori felt truly protected by people who understood the stakes and possessed the resources to win. Elena's final revelation changed the entire scope of Bradley's betrayal. There's something else you absolutely need to know. Bradley has been systematically diverting company funds to offshore accounts, money that was legally designated to fund employee pensions and retirement benefits. He didn't just steal from wealthy investors who could absorb losses. He stole directly from working families who trusted him with their financial futures. The complete scope of Bradley's crimes settled over the room like a toxic cloud. This transcended personal betrayal or even marriage fraud. Bradley had destroyed the retirement security of hundreds of families to finance his escape from justice. Tori placed both hands protectively over her pregnant belly. Her son would grow up knowing his biological father was not just a criminal, but a man who had stolen from working people to save himself from consequences. But he would also grow up knowing his mother had fought back with the full force of a Navy family's honor behind her. The baby kicked vigorously against her ribs, as if approving of the battle plan taking shape around him. 3 generations of Blackwood determination, united against a common enemy who had made the fatal mistake of underestimating their resolve. Dawn painted the Mediterranean in shades of gold and rose as Tori stood at the ship's bow, salt spray misting her face in the morning breeze. Instead of the crushing despair she had anticipated, she felt something extraordinary and unexpected. Peace. The marriage she had been mourning never actually existed. She wasn't losing anything real. She was finally escaping from an elaborate prison of lies. The baby moved energetically against her ribs, responding to her emotional transformation. "Just you and me now, little Admiral," she whispered to the horizon, "and that's going to be absolutely perfect." Grace appeared beside her at the railing, carrying steaming coffee and wearing the expression of protective concern that had sustained their friendship through 15 years of shared crises. "You look completely different this morning," Grace observed, studying the change in Tori's face. "I feel different," Tori replied with genuine wonder. "Like I've been holding my breath underwater for 3 years and finally surfaced." But what happens next? The question that would have paralyzed her with terror just days ago now felt like the beginning of an adventure. Complete fresh start, new city, new career, new life. Somewhere Bradley's criminal reputation can't reach us. Her phone buzzed constantly with breaking news alerts. Elena's press conference was dominating financial media and social networks in ways that exceeded their most optimistic projections. Tech CEO's assistant exposes massive fraud scheme. Elena Vasquez: "I recorded every criminal conversation." Hamilton tech stock plunges amid FBI raids. She scrolled through comment sections, watching public opinion crystallize with devastating speed. Bradley's professional network abandoned him with carefully distanced statements. Major investors demanded immediate accountability and transparency. Most significantly, his own employees expressed outrage about their stolen pension funds, creating a victim class that would make jury sympathy impossible. Jim approached with a thick folder of legal documents. Walsh worked through the night filing emergency protection orders. "Your personal assets are completely insulated from Bradley's business debts and criminal liability. The house, your individual accounts, even your car are legally yours alone." "I can actually return home?" Tori asked, surprised by the possibility. "You can go anywhere in the world you choose," Jim replied with paternal pride. "You're completely free, Victoria." The word carried flavors she had forgotten existed. Free. When had she last made an important decision without first calculating Bradley's reaction? Career choices, social plans, even personal friendships had been filtered through his approval process for so long, she had forgotten what autonomy felt like. Mitchell arrived for her morning medical evaluation. Blood pressure normal and stable. Baby's position optimal for gestational stage. Stress hormone levels returning to healthy baseline parameters. "You're absolutely extraordinary," Dr. Mitchell observed while reviewing her updated chart. "Most women facing your circumstances would be experiencing serious medical complications. Instead, you're thriving like never before." "Blackwood genetics," Tori explained with newfound pride, "were engineered for surviving storms that would sink other ships." In the ship's well-appointed library, she researched potential destinations with the methodical approach her father had taught her during childhood geography lessons. San Diego emerged as the optimal choice on multiple criteria. Navy community with familiar values and support systems, outstanding schools for raising children, dynamic startup ecosystem where she could rebuild her marketing career from scratch. Far enough from New York to completely escape Bradley's social and professional shadow, yet close enough to ocean views that would always feel like home. Her laptop chimed with an email from Jessica Chen, her former colleague who had left Bradley's toxic company 18 months earlier to become chief marketing officer at a promising San Diego biotech startup. Tori saw the Bradley news. He's a complete sociopath and always was, but I'm proud of you for fighting back. Job opening here if you're interested. We desperately need someone with your exact skills and experience. Plus, San Diego needs more badass single moms. Call me ASAP. The universe seemed to be opening doors faster than she could identify them, much less walk through them. The realization struck her with perfect clarity. She hadn't been the problem in her marriage to Bradley. She had been the solution to problems he never deserved to have solved. Admiral Blackwood discovered her several hours later, surrounded by city guides, employment listings, and apartment rental websites arranged across two library tables. Planning your next strategic campaign, he asked, settling into the leather chair across from her workspace. Something like that, she replied. How do you choose where to completely start over? Same principles as selecting any tactical position, Jim answered thoughtfully. High ground for strategic advantage, secure supply lines for sustainability, friendly territory for community support. He gestured toward the San Diego materials. Naval base for instant community, established infrastructure, abundant professional opportunities, textbook strategic positioning. You approve of my choice? I approve of you finally taking command of your own life after years of letting someone else make your decisions. That afternoon brought a video conference call from Elena, now safely established in FBI protective custody. Her face showed exhaustion, but unshakable determination. The press conference exceeded every expectation, Elena reported with satisfaction. Bradley's attempting to claim temporary mental breakdown, but with all the audio recordings I provided, absolutely nobody's accepting his innocent victim act. His legal team is already exploring plea deal negotiations. Will he actually serve prison time? Tori asked. White-collar criminals typically receive minimum security placement, but with the pension fund theft creating hundreds of individual victims, probably 5 to 7 years minimum. More importantly, he's completely destroyed financially. Assets frozen indefinitely, business permanently shut down, professional reputation demolished beyond any possibility of recovery. The total victory should have generated satisfaction, but Tori discovered she felt only profound sadness for the man she had thought she married, the Bradley who had proposed during that magical Malibu beach sunset, who had held her while she cried through her first miscarriage, who had promised to build a loving family together. That person had either never existed or had died somewhere along his path toward fraud and ultimate betrayal. Elena's expression shifted to serious concern. There's something else you need to understand. Bradley has been asking his attorney about contacting you, where you're located, how to reach you directly. His lawyer believes if Bradley can convince you to forgive him publicly, demonstrate family unity, it might help reduce his sentence. Jim, who had been listening from across the library, moved closer to the laptop screen. Any unauthorized contact with my daughter constitutes criminal harassment of a military dependent. Ensure his legal team understands that completely. Elena nodded acknowledgement. Already communicated and documented. But Tori, there's one final thing. Bradley wants to voluntarily surrender all parental rights. Complete custody to you, zero legal claims on the child. His exact words were that he never wanted to be a father anyway. The casual cruelty of that statement struck Arya deeper than any of his previous betrayals. Their unborn son dismissed as inconvenient to Bradley's legal defense strategy before he had even taken his first breath. Probably the most honest thing he's said in years, Tori replied quietly. But also, she realized with growing clarity, the greatest possible gift Bradley could give their child. A complete and permanent absence that would prove far healthier than a lifetime of disappointment and psychological manipulation. Her son would never have to wonder why his father didn't love him enough to stay. He would know from the beginning that some people simply aren't capable of love, and that knowledge would protect him from spending his life trying to earn something that was never available to be given. The ship docked at Monaco for their scheduled port excursion. Tori stood on the upper deck, watching affluent tourists board for luxury shopping and casino entertainment while her phone displayed Bradley's incoming call. Her father immediately noticed her hesitation. Answer it, Jim advised with military authority, but remain in full public view where crew members can witness everything and keep the conversation as brief as possible. Bradley's voice sounded hollow and increasingly desperate when she accepted the call. Tori, thank God you answered. I've been trying to reach you for hours. I know exactly what you've done, Bradley, she replied with calm authority she hadn't known she possessed. Elena explained everything about the FBI investigation and your criminal activities. Elena is lying about the entire situation. Nothing is what it appears to be from her perspective. Stop talking immediately, Tori interrupted with newfound command presence. I've personally heard the recorded conversations, seen the bank records with my own eyes. I know about every dollar you stole from those families' pension funds. Silence stretched across the international connection for several heartbeats. When Bradley spoke again, all pretense of charm and manipulation had vanished, replaced by cold, calculating threat assessment. You signed those joint tax returns, Tori. Your legal signature appears on half the financial documents in question. We're criminally linked together whether you accept that reality or not. Actually, we're not linked at all, she replied with steady confidence. Elena meticulously documented everything. I was systematically deceived and manipulated, not knowingly complicit in your criminal enterprise. You honestly think your Navy daddy can protect you from federal prosecutors? Bradley's tone turned openly menacing. I'll drag your entire military family through years of court proceedings. His pension, his reputation, your mother's nursing license. I'll systematically destroy all of you. Jim stepped forward and gently took the phone from her hands. His voice carried 3 decades of command authority when he spoke into the device. This is Admiral James Blackwood. You have made a serious tactical error by threatening my family. Admiral, Bradley's voice immediately shifted, recognizing the fundamental power dynamics at play. This is a private domestic matter between my wife and myself. Not anymore, Jim replied with Arctic diplomatic precision. Victoria is now under official Navy protection as a military dependent. Any further unauthorized contact constitutes criminal harassment under federal law. I strongly recommend you focus your attention on your rapidly approaching legal problems. Jim terminated the call, but not before ensuring Bradley clearly heard the unmistakable steel beneath his carefully measured words. Within 30 minutes, Elena contacted them with urgent intelligence updates. Bradley's attorney reached out to mine immediately after your father's warning. They're requesting an emergency meeting. Bradley claims he's willing to admit complete responsibility for everything if Tori will provide character testimony at his sentencing hearing. Character testimony? Tori repeated with incredulous amazement. For the man who abandoned his 7 months pregnant wife specifically to frame her for his financial crimes? He's offering comprehensive financial settlement in exchange, Elena continued. House, vehicles, investment accounts, everything legally transferred to your individual name, completely clean and clear of any criminal liability whatsoever. The proposal would solve every practical challenge she faced moving forward. Financial security for herself and the baby, a house where she could raise her son, sufficient resources to start over anywhere without struggling economically. But accepting would require standing beside the man who had betrayed her in the most fundamental way imaginable, actively helping him minimize consequences for stealing from working families who had trusted him with their financial futures. Some prices proved too high to pay, regardless of the security and comfort they might provide. Tell his attorney absolutely not, Tori decided without hesitation. I will not help him escape appropriate justice for what he did to those innocent families. On Monaco's pristine waterfront, she walked among luxury yachts with grace, breathing fresh Mediterranean air filled with infinite possibility. The baby moved constantly now, as if eager to be born into their new freedom rather than the suffocating atmosphere of deception that had characterized her marriage. Children played in waterfront parks while their parents watched with protective love. The kind of life she was consciously choosing for her son. A text message from Jessica in San Diego included photographs of house rentals in family-friendly neighborhoods. elementary schools with exceptional academic ratings, medical groups accepting new patients with her insurance coverage. The practical architecture of completely new beginnings, taking concrete shape across 3,000 miles of distance from her old life. Jim found them at a harbor cafe overlooking rows of gleaming white boats bobbing in the gentle swell. Walsh called with significant developments. Bradley was arrested 3 hours ago, formally charged with securities fraud, money laundering, and fiduciary breach of trust. Bail was set at $2 million. Will he be able to make bail? Tory asked. All his accessible assets remain frozen pending the ongoing federal investigation. He's staying in federal custody until trial proceedings begin. The news should have brought satisfaction, but Tory felt only weary sadness for the comprehensive destruction Bradley had brought upon himself and everyone unfortunate enough to be connected to him. Justice was being served, but at tremendous cost to so many innocent people. Jim's secure phone buzzed with an urgent message marked high priority. His expression darkened considerably as he read the information displayed on the screen. Bradley's mother just retained Marcus Weber as lead defense counsel, he announced with grim concern. The name meant nothing to Tory, but Maggie's face immediately went pale with recognition and worry. Weber specializes in systematically destroying military families during court proceedings, Maggie explained with barely controlled anger. He'll attack your fundamental fitness as a mother, claim that the Navy lifestyle makes us inherently unstable parents incapable of providing proper childcare. Instead of the fear Weber's reputation was designed to inspire, Tory felt crystalline clarity settling over her thoughts like fresh snow. They wanted to attack her family, question her fitness as a mother, use her proud Navy heritage as a weapon against her. They had chosen precisely the wrong opponent for that particular battle. Let them come, she declared, standing straighter despite her advanced pregnancy. I am a Blackwood. We don't retreat from fights, especially when family honor is at stake. The family war room reconvened in Jim's quarters that evening with renewed intensity. Strategic planning through multiple secure communication channels, comprehensive legal briefs from Walsh's team, character references from colleagues spanning 2 decades of professional excellence, military precision and systematic thoroughness applied to civilian legal warfare. Elena joined the planning session by encrypted video conference from her secure FBI facility. Weber's strategic approach is completely predictable based on his previous cases. He'll claim you're emotionally unstable, argue that growing up in a military family psychologically damaged your ability to maintain healthy relationships. He'll suggest your pregnancy was strategically timed to manipulate jury sympathy. What's our comprehensive counter strategy? Jim asked with tactical focus. We control the entire narrative from the beginning, Elena replied confidently. Full media offensive campaign. Present Victoria as a victim who transformed into a survivor. The military daughter who learned unshakable strength and resilience from the finest traditions of service to country. Maggie contributed essential intelligence assets. I maintained connections with 30 years of Navy wife networks, medical professionals, judges' wives, business leaders throughout the military community. Character witnesses who intimately understand that military families consistently produce exceptionally strong, stable, resilient children. The counter-campaign built unstoppable momentum throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Social media posts supporting Tory from military families nationwide flooded trending hashtags. Television news interviews with Elena, emphasizing Bradley's systematic psychological manipulation. Written statements from Tory's former colleagues describing her exceptional professional competence and unshakable personal integrity under pressure. Dr. Mitchell provided crucial medical testimony that completely destroyed Weber's intended strategy before he could implement it effectively. Victoria demonstrates truly remarkable resilience under extreme emotional and psychological stress. Her pregnancy remains completely healthy despite circumstances that would hospitalize most women experiencing similar trauma. This represents the psychological profile of an exceptionally strong, capable mother. The counteroffensive reached peak effectiveness when Admiral Richardson, Jim's former commanding officer and current Pentagon military advisor, released an official public statement. I have known the Blackwood family personally for 20 years of military service. Victoria represents the absolute finest traditions of military heritage: honor, courage, commitment, and sacrifice. Any attack on her character constitutes an attack on the fundamental values that defend our nation's freedom. By late evening, social media sentiment had shifted decisively and irreversibly in Tory's favor. The hashtag Navy Strong was trending nationally across all major platforms, with military families sharing thousands of personal stories celebrating resilience and strength. Bradley's carefully constructed narrative had collapsed completely under the organized opposition of an entire community, united in common cause. Walsh called with the definitive final update. Weber is withdrawing from the case effective immediately. Public opinion made his strategy completely untenable from a practical standpoint. Bradley is actively exploring plea negotiations within 24 hours. What kind of plea arrangement? Tory asked. Complete financial restitution to all victims, 7 years minimum federal prison sentence, permanent legal no-contact order regarding you and the child. He retains whatever assets survive federal seizure procedures, but his professional career is finished forever. The comprehensive offer represented total victory on every front. Bradley permanently neutralized as any kind of threat, complete financial security restored, professional reputation entirely protected and enhanced. But Tory realized something fundamentally important about her own character and values. She didn't need or want the complete destruction of her enemy to achieve lasting peace and freedom for herself and her son. She needed only his permanent absence from their lives and their future. In the pre-dawn darkness of her cabin, while the ship navigated steadily through calm Mediterranean waters, Tory experienced her deepest moment of vulnerability since this entire crisis had begun. The adrenaline that had sustained her through days of legal and emotional warfare finally faded completely, leaving nothing but raw, unprocessed emotion in its wake. She slid down the bathroom door, 7 months pregnant and more alone than she had ever been in her 32 years of life. The tears came in waves of grief for the marriage that had never actually existed, terror about single motherhood, and profound shame for being so completely deceived by someone she had trusted with everything precious in her world. The breakdown was necessary and overdue. She grieved for the life she had thought they were building together, the future she had imagined with a partner who had never truly been present, the father figure her son would never have. Her body shook with the physical force of emotions she had suppressed for months, while making increasingly desperate excuses for Bradley's behavior. When the storm finally passed, she did what millions of devastated women do at their absolute lowest point. She called her mother, not seeking solutions or advice, but simply needing the voice that had made every childhood terror disappear with gentle words and unconditional love. "Mom," she whispered into the phone through tears, "I can't do this alone. I can't be a single mother. I don't have any idea how to raise a child by myself." Maggie arrived at her door within 3 minutes, settling beside Tory on the cold bathroom floor without questions or judgment. Navy wives understand crisis management instinctively. Physical presence first, practical solutions second, emotional processing third. "When your father deployed to the Persian Gulf the month before you were born," Maggie shared quietly, "I experienced exactly the same overwhelming panic. 36 hours of difficult labor with no husband present, no extended family nearby for support, just other Navy wives taking shifts in the hospital waiting room. But Dad eventually came home from that deployment," Tory protested through her tears. "Bradley never will." "No, sweetheart," Maggie replied with the gentle wisdom earned through 3 decades of military marriage. "Bradley was never really present in your life to begin with. You've been essentially doing this alone for years already. You just didn't fully recognize that reality yet." The truth settled into Tory's consciousness like sediment in still water, creating clarity where confusion had reigned. How many dinners had she eaten alone while Bradley claimed to be working late? How many medical appointments had she attended by herself because his meetings were supposedly too important to reschedule? How many nights had she fallen asleep feeling like a stranger in her own marriage bed? "This baby deserves so much better than what I experienced with Bradley," Tory said aloud, the realization bringing unexpected relief. "The baby deserves exactly what you're going to provide," Maggie replied with absolute confidence. "A mother who chooses him first every single day, without exception or compromise." They remained together in comfortable silence, mother and daughter finding strength in the Blackwood family tradition of enduring impossible circumstances with grace and determination. Outside their small sanctuary, the ship continued cutting through Mediterranean darkness, carrying them steadily toward whatever tomorrow might bring. A respectful knock interrupted their quiet moment. Commander Torres spoke through the door with professional urgency. "Ladies, Captain Blackwood requests your immediate presence in his quarters. Priority intelligence briefing with time-sensitive implications." Jim's quarters had been transformed into a comprehensive command center. Navigation charts, legal documents, and sophisticated communication equipment arranged with systematic military precision. Captain Walsh appeared on the main video display, his experienced face reflecting the seriousness of their situation in Miami's early morning light. "Victoria," Walsh began with characteristic directness, "your husband has made several additional critical mistakes that significantly strengthen your legal position." Elena Vasquez provided the FBI with comprehensive documentary evidence yesterday. Bank records spanning 3 years, recorded conversations, email communications. Bradley Hamilton is facing serious federal charges for securities fraud, systematic money laundering, and breach of fiduciary duty. "What does this mean for my legal exposure?" Tori asked, though Elena's previous explanations had already provided most of the answer. "You are completely cleared of any criminal liability whatsoever. Elena meticulously documented your innocent involvement in every aspect of Bradley's criminal enterprise. However, we face an immediate tactical challenge. Bradley knows Elena testified against him to federal investigators. He has retained Marcus Weber to implement a comprehensive spousal blame defense strategy." Jim leaned toward the screen with focused intensity. "Provide specific threat assessment details." Weber's strategy centers on claiming Victoria was the actual criminal mastermind behind the entire financial fraud operation. That Bradley was systematically manipulated by his ambitious wife, who demanded an expensive lifestyle regardless of legal or ethical cost. Her pregnancy timing was supposedly calculated to generate jury sympathy during trial proceedings. The breathtaking audacity of the accusation left Tory momentarily speechless. "He plans to blame me publicly for every crime he committed?" It represents a desperate legal strategy, but with sufficiently skilled presentation, juries occasionally accept the innocent husband corrupted by manipulative wife narrative, Walsh confirmed grimly, particularly when the defendant can afford attorneys with Weber's reputation and resources. Elena's voice joined their secure video conference from her FBI protective facility. "That's precisely why I'm conducting a comprehensive public press conference this morning. Every recording, every document, every piece of evidence I collected over months of investigation. By the time I finish, Bradley Hamilton will be completely radioactive in all media coverage." Jim evaluated their tactical situation with the same analytical intensity he had once applied to naval combat operations. "Confirm our operational timeline and resource requirements." "FBI executes Bradley's arrest at 8 this morning Eastern Time," Walsh reported. "National media coverage begins approximately noon. Victoria needs to be in a completely secure location when this story dominates news cycles across the country." "She remains under comprehensive Navy protection," Jim declared with absolute authority. "Let Bradley attempt to attack my daughter through media manipulation. He will discover the consequences of declaring war against a united military family." The family command structure felt both familiar and deeply reassuring. Crisis management through proven military methodology, emotional support integrated with systematic operational planning. For the first time in months of confusion and escalating fear, Tory felt truly protected by people who understood the stakes and possessed both the resources and determination to achieve victory. Elena's final revelation fundamentally changed their understanding of Bradley's complete betrayal. "There's something critically important you must understand. Bradley has been systematically diverting company funds to offshore accounts for over 18 months, money that was legally designated to fund employee pension plans and retirement benefits. He didn't just steal from wealthy investors who could potentially absorb such losses. He deliberately stole from working families who trusted him with their entire financial futures." The staggering scope of Bradley's criminal enterprise settled over the room like a suffocating cloud. This transcended personal betrayal, marriage fraud, or even individual financial crimes. Bradley had systematically destroyed the retirement security of hundreds of families to finance his personal escape from legal consequences. Tori placed both protective hands over her pregnant belly, feeling her son move restlessly, as if sensing the emotional intensity surrounding him. This child would grow up knowing his biological father was not merely a criminal, but a man who had stolen from working people to save himself from justice. But he would also know that his mother had fought back with the full moral authority and practical resources of a Navy family's honor standing behind her. The baby kicked vigorously against her ribs, as if expressing approval of the battle plan crystallizing around his future welfare. 3 generations of Blackwood determination, united in common cause against an enemy who had made the fatal strategic error of underestimating their collective resolve and capabilities. This was no longer about a failed marriage or personal betrayal. This was about justice, honor, and protecting the innocent from predators who used trust as a weapon. And Blackwoods had never lost a battle when the cause was just. Standing in the ship's small chapel where her parents had renewed their wedding vows 5 years earlier, Tori signed the legal documents that would forever sever all ties between her family and Bradley Hamilton. No shared custody battles extending through her son's childhood. No forced interactions at school events or family occasions. No legal claims on her child's future, financial or otherwise. Her unborn son chose this precise moment to deliver his strongest kick yet, as if expressing approval of the paperwork that guaranteed his protection. Jim witnessed her signatures with formal military precision, while Maggie maintained supportive vigil beside them, 3 generations of Blackwood strength, ensuring the 4th generation would begin life completely free from Bradley's toxic influence. "It's finished," Tori breathed, setting down the pen with finality. Not just the legal proceedings, but the marriage, the manipulation, the constant underlying fear that had poisoned her daily existence for months. All of it permanently resolved. Mitchell arrived with her final medical clearance documentation. "You're approved for commercial air travel until 36 weeks gestation. San Diego is waiting whenever you're ready to begin your new life." The practical details fell into place with military efficiency that would have made her father proud. Walsh had arranged temporary housing near the naval base through his extensive network of contacts. Elena's comprehensive testimony had completely cleared Tori's name in all federal investigations. Jessica's job offer provided both immediate income and genuine professional purpose in cutting-edge biotechnology marketing. She found herself planning her future without consulting anyone else's needs or preferences for the first time in years. The Harbor View apartment that had caught her attention online. The nursery decorated with maritime themes that would honor her family's naval heritage. The career path combining marketing expertise with biotech innovation in one of America's most dynamic markets. Grace efficiently packed their belongings while Tori stood on the deck for one final time, watching the French Riviera coastline glide past in golden afternoon light. This cruise was supposed to have been their baby moon, a final romantic gesture before parenthood changed everything. Instead, it had become something far more valuable: her liberation. The journey from victim to survivor to victor, accomplished with the full support of a family she had almost lost through stubborn pride. The legal papers were signed, the threats permanently neutralized, the future completely secured. Bradley Hamilton had no legal claim on her life or their son's future. She was truly and completely free at last. She placed both hands on her belly and did what confident women do when they've won a decisive victory. She made plans that belonged entirely to her and her child, without reference to anyone else's approval or interference. Jim joined her at the ship's bow, both of them watching dolphins race through the crystalline bow wake with obvious joy. "Any regrets about how this all unfolded?" he asked with the careful concern that had characterized their relationship for 3 decades. "About Bradley and the marriage?" Tori considered the question seriously. "Only that I wasted 3 precious years on someone who never deserved them." "About everything else that happened?" She gestured toward the vast ocean and endless possibilities it represented. "Not a single one, Van. The little Admiral is fortunate to have you as his commanding officer. He's fortunate to have you and Mom as his grandparents, both of you present and committed this time." Her words carried no accusation, just acknowledgement of growth and change. Jim had learned to balance duty and family. She had learned to choose strength over false security. She realized with perfect clarity that she chose strength over safety, freedom over comfort, truth over convenient lies. These weren't easy choices, but they were the right ones for her son's future. The final dinner at the captain's table felt like a celebration rather than an ending. Friends who had become family during crisis surrounded her with warmth and support. Toasts to new beginnings, promises to maintain contact across continents, genuine laughter that felt natural again after months of forcing smiles she didn't feel. Elena called with the ultimate confirmation. Bradley accepted the plea deal this afternoon. 7 years federal prison, complete restitution to all victims, permanent no-contact order regarding you and the child. His mother has cut off all financial support. He's going to prison with nothing but his legal bills and his guilty conscience. The news brought no satisfaction or sense of revenge accomplished, only completion. Justice served through natural consequences of choices Bradley had made freely, not through vindictive pursuit of punishment. 6 hours later, the ship returned to Barcelona, where this transformative journey had begun. But Tori boarded a different vessel entirely. American Airlines Flight 1847 to San Diego International Airport. Grace accompanied her for the transition period, while Jim and Maggie promised to visit immediately after their grandson's arrival. Walking through San Diego International Airport at 34 weeks pregnant and completely alone, Tori felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Genuine excitement about tomorrow. Not anxiety about unknown challenges, but authentic anticipation for the life she was going to build from nothing but determination and love. 6 weeks later, she sat in her Harbor View apartment watching Navy ships return to port in the early morning light, while her son slept peacefully in his ship-themed nursery. The walls displayed maritime prints, model ships, and a photograph of his grandfather in dress blues. Everything a little Admiral needed to understand his heritage. Her laptop buzzed with a video call notification. Commander Torres appeared on screen from the Mediterranean Jules Bridge. "Mrs. Hamilton, forgive me, Miss Blackwood. Captain Blackwood wanted you to see something special." The camera panned across the ship's bow to reveal a small brass plaque that had been professionally installed near the forward railing. In honor of Victoria Blackwood, Navy strong, mother courageous, survivor triumphant, fair winds and following seas. She felt tears of gratitude rather than pain for the first time in months. "Please thank Dad for me, and tell him that his grandson has his eyes. The captain will be pleased to hear that, ma'am." After ending the call, Tori moved to the window overlooking San Diego Bay. Another Navy ship was returning to safe harbor, its crew undoubtedly eager to reunite with families who had waited faithfully for their return. She understood now that some journeys require sailing through storms to reach peaceful waters. Some victories demand temporary isolation before achieving lasting freedom. The baby stirred in his crib, opening ocean blue eyes that mirrored her own, filled with endless possibility and unmarked by disappointment. Outside the window, morning sunlight painted the harbor in shades of gold and promise. She was not the same woman who had boarded that cruise ship 7 months pregnant and terrified of being alone. She was the woman who had survived the storm and learned to command her own vessel with skill, courage, and honor. The woman who would teach her son that love never requires sacrificing your identity, that family can be chosen as well as inherited, and that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating enemies, but from refusing to let them define your worth. Admiral Victoria Blackwood, single mother, survivor, and architect of her own extraordinary future, finally completely triumphantly home. What an incredible journey we've been on together with Tori and the Blackwood family. From betrayal in the Mediterranean to triumph in San Diego, this story reminds us that strength often comes from the most unexpected places, and that family bonds forged in honor can overcome any storm. If this story moved you, inspired you, or kept you listening until the very end, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me which moment hit you the hardest. Was it when Tori found that devastating note, when Admiral Blackwood stepped in to protect his daughter, or when she finally reclaimed her freedom? Your support means everything to storytellers like me. If you enjoyed this tale of courage and family loyalty, please give it a thumbs up. It helps other people discover these stories of strength and resilience. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest stories of triumph over adversity. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're stronger than they know, that family can come in many forms, and that sometimes the best revenge is living your best life. Thank you for joining Tori on her journey from victim to victor. Until our next story together, remember, fair winds and following seas to you all.